Computational creativity is an abomination. I've just stumbled upon an insane corner of AI research, and I had to share this with you guys because it's so worrying. This is from a scientific paper titled Computational Creativity: The Final Frontier. Hear this out. This section addresses our first major issue, the most studied in computational creativity research, that of how to incrementally engineer software to have more and more responsibility for the creation of artifacts and ideas. Why would you do that? Why would you want that? Why would you set this as a goal? This is honestly the strangest sentence I've read this week. So if you're an aspiring artist, how often have you had doubts about AI in the past month? Now you know that there are people who are highly educated scientists and are actively working to replace you. But if we dig deeper, we quickly find how flawed and absurd the field of computational creativity really is. Without getting technical about it, let's calm our worries by delving into the mess that is computational creativity research. Computational creativity has been attempted in many ways ever since the first computers. AI itself is also an incredibly resilient field of research because of the ideals it sparks up in people's minds. Is computational creativity a venture that is bound to be successful, or is it doomed to fail? One thing is for sure, it's silly, it's pointless, and it's bound to disappoint those who put their hopes in it. Think I'm being too harsh? Just wait. In a few minutes, you'll be convinced as well. Part 1. The arrogance of intellect. First off, let's state the obvious. Computers are not alive, they aren't embodied, they're just chaining logical operations. How can they be creative? There's a few ways that scientists are trying to make computers creative. Computational creativity for now just involves defining a mathematical function of so-called fitness that measures the success of the computer at creating something, and then running a bunch of programs to attain maximum fitness. This is quite the weak approximation of what we as humans are able to do. As someone who does both AI and art, this is miles away from what artists do when they create. Another way they approach the problem is with big data. Gather enough user preference data and you can teach a computer to create aesthetic and preferable outputs. But this is missing the point of creativity altogether. Many works are aesthetic without involving the slightest amount of creativity. And even the way they try to measure the success of their so-called creative computers is not convincing at all. To them, a system is creative if it is deemed creative by people. This is, in my eyes, silly. And it's a symptom of the overgrowth of scientific thinking in the modern age, and the associated lack of faith in the human mind, the arrogance of the intellect, and the beating down of the feeling function of human beings. These people will sit 20 participants down in a chair, ask them to choose between two images, and extract from this data grand statements about the creativity of a computer. They think simple experiments of science straight out of a high school class, because they are called science, will allow them to capture the infinite aspects of reality and in particular creativity, but they don't. They also say a system is creative if its creations are bought by people. But first of all, people might just buy because of the novelty of it being made by a computer, and second, people buying is mostly about the image of the artist and the marketing aspect. Bad paintings are sold for thousands every day, while the work of shy geniuses gathers dust in their attic. Let's not even mention the fact that fine art has now mostly become a market for speculation. Money will never be an indicator of the worth of an artwork. Now check out this other crazy passage I found in a paper. Quote, "We will expect the internet to provide new ideas and new artifacts on demand, just like we expect it right now to provide old ideas and old artifacts. We will go online for a new relevant joke, an exciting new recipe for a party, a bespoke or a beautiful painting for a present. We cannot expect the world's creative people alone to supply artifacts for such a huge demand, so autonomously creative software will be necessary." This is crazy to me. These people are thinking that in the future there's going to be an insane demand for creative output, and that therefore we will need to make computers create things, and therefore humans will not be able to fulfill this role. I'm telling you, These people literally sound like movie villains. Part 2. Why in the world? Picture yourself as a smart kid going through high school with relative ease. You like solving Rubik's Cubes, math class, and confronting intellectual problems. Your family all work in academia, so the path ahead is already set up for you. When you get to university, you are enticed by the tremendous hype surrounding AI research and decide to do a master's degree in AI. You do a few internships here and there and start to look for a PhD positions. These are rare and require utmost excellence. You search and search and search, sending dozens of CVs, taking interview after interview, but you're turned down every single time. As you get rejected by all the projects you wanted to work on, you begin to despair. One morning, you're browsing through LinkedIn when you stumble upon a project on computational creativity. You find it strange and illogical, but nonetheless, you want a PhD, so you don't think about it too hard, you just get on with it and you apply. They accept your CV and they hire you into the project. Within a few years, you get your PhD and you become a researcher yourself. Having already worked in computational creativity, the only thing that makes sense for your career is to keep doing research in this direction. Sure, you weren't even passionate about it to begin with, and it doesn't seem promising as a field of research, but you need to publish articles. You need to get funding. Your job, your livelihood, and that of your family all depend on it. It is not passion that drives you, and it never was. It is just a job, just like any other. So that's why they do all this harmful research. It's their job. Their career depends on it. Part 3. Concede, concede, concede. The whole computational creativity thing to me feels like a collection of feeble attempts for the mind to establish rigorous definitions of creativity, but this is like grasping at smoke with your hand. The mind is not the right tool. There are a few redeeming qualities to this field of research. They are more open-minded than I made it seem in the first part of the video. However, every time they make a good point, it appears as a concession to artists and the power of their unique creativity. For instance, they mention that people tend to try to test creativity in computers by comparing its outputs to human outputs. But this rules out ways in which the computers could be creative that humans could not. This to me is a very interesting idea, that computer intelligence could create new things that we could never think of. But for a field that is trying to quote-unquote hand over the responsibility to create from artists to computers, this means that they will never achieve their goals. Because computers will not create things which humans create, they will create something else. And so this is coming off as a concession to artists. Another time when they seem more reasonable is when they state, "It seems to us inappropriate to describe the composition of a sonata or a painting of a picture as a problem to be solved." But they seem to completely ignore the consequences of this statement, because all that computers can do is solve problems, and all the techniques proposed in computational creativity are a form of optimization, which is problem solving. So once again, this is a concession to artists. So I've been pretty harsh in this video, and I want to end on a kind note. I don't think the field of computational creativity is threatening to artists, and I don't think the people who partake in it are wrong for doing so. They're trying to make a living and bring some meaning to their lives. And if their science for now seems silly and childish, it still might, given the time to do so, inspire something worthwhile, just like alchemy, for instance, inspired chemistry. But in the meantime, we aspiring artists are not going to stop being creative in the way only we know. In this video, we've learned that computational creativity has twisted objectives, but will not attain them, and we've humanized the people who partake in it. It's easy to get caught up in doubts and fears when there is so much hype going around. Our objective on this channel is to help artists navigate the AI storm by bringing together expertise from both AI and arts. And if you're looking to stay closer to the reality, consider subscribing to the channel. What do you think about computational creativity? Does it have any hope of beating us at arts? Is it morally right to engage in this kind of research? Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll make sure to read and respond to all of them. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.